Mortgage is a loan agreement involving someone borrowing money from a money lending organization such as a bank or a savings and loans association. This gives the organization the right to demand for collateral to serve as security in the event the loan is not repaid within a specified period. In many developed countries, the mortgage system is a way of life, as most residents take advantage of it to own their own home. Nigerians of working age contribute into a pool from which they can obtain a mortgage loan. Though the concept is not new, most Nigerians have not come to terms with it, nor have they explored the enormous benefits inherent in it. The trend is, however, changing. Increased collaboration between the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN, and stakeholders such as primary mortgage banks and real estate developers now makes it possible for more Nigerians to access mortgage loans. This has also led to an increase in the number of houses being built for Nigerians.
We have a very good understanding with the Federal Mortgage Bank. I do know they have tight rules and regulations which you must follow. Having gone through those and subject to availability of funds, they've always made funds available to us, both in the what is described as Estate Development Loan, the EDL, and the National Housing Fund loan. Yes, they've done well in view of what the funds available to them at the time.
They have given us about 1.8 billion, which would translate to more than about 390 houses or so. So that is why I'm telling you, even the issue of housing is like a non-start. Look at 1.8 can only give about 300 and something houses. So it involves a lot of money in this direction. So that is the synergy that we are having with the Federal Mortgage Bank in terms of, and we are even going back because we are almost through with this one. We are going back for another loan for some houses for other organizations in the government.
A house that is selling at 12 million, for example, that it means that the off-taker will need to pay only 3% of that value. And then the Federal Mortgage Bank will pay the balance for the customer through the primary mortgage institution. Inadvertently, the Federal Mortgage Bank. And that customer is not paying back the balance to the Federal Mortgage Bank immediately. But Federal Mortgage Bank is going to pay the money once, and then the customer or the off-taker is going to do the repayment over a period of time.
Currently, we have a loan facility with Federal Mortgage Bank that is financing. We are building as many as about 326,000 units, particularly targeting NHF and contributors. They are 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom flats, all within the affordability bracket.
More housing estates are springing up all over the country under the National Housing Fund scheme. It owes its success to the FMBN.
We have provided houses to more than 650 Nigerian workers. We have the Cooperative City Garden Estates along the airport road in Piakasa, and that one alone has more than 650 units already built. And then also, we are also building a 1,000 unit in Duse in Jigawa State.
Mortgage will issue an estate developer's loan to a developer and urge you to build certain number of houses which will be agreed. After building the houses, all you just need to do as a civil servant is to apply for a house through that developer. And the developer, once he gave you the offer letter, then you take it to a PMB, primary mortgage bank, or primary mortgage institutions. You are expected to pay a token amount of 20, 10, or 30% of the cost of that house.
It is a story of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria meeting its mandate of providing housing at affordable rates for Nigerians. A case in point was the sale of federal government houses in Abuja in 2007.
Most of the houses that have been sold by institutions like ASO, the sale of federal government houses in 2006, 2007, all of them were funded by Federal Mortgage Bank. So you will see that most civil servants are living in those houses, but they don't know that it is Federal Mortgage Bank that has funded because they came through ASO, they filled ASO form, ASO submitted, we gave them the money. That applies to all other primary mortgage institutions that have existing in that time. So 98 to 99% of the businesses that have been done by the PMIs that do business with us here in Nigeria are being funded by Federal Mortgage Bank.
When the federal government sold houses to Nigerians in Abuja, and people were going to banks to look for money, government gave us a mandate to provide finance for those people. And we were able to raise bonds in the market, that's borrow from the marketplace or the capital market. And we raised 26 billion naira in 2007. And we distributed this money to ASO, to UBA, Intercontinental Bank, Union Homes, Abbey Building Society, and some other ones like that.
Despite the strides by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria in collaboration with stakeholders in meeting the housing demand of Nigerian workers, the successes so far recorded is a far cry from the prevailing situation in the country.
As at today, we have about 4 million contributors to the scheme. And the total number of houses that we have delivered through mortgages or estate development loans are less than 100,000. So you will realize that people have been saying they have been applying and they are not getting the mortgages. If you take 2.5% of your salary, it will take you more than your working life for you to be able to pay for a house. So that is why the quantum of money, the basket of money that we have here in this institution is not enough to go around the 4 million contributors to the scheme.
Scarcity of funds to finance mortgage loans has been the major problem, thereby creating a yawning gap between demand and supply.
As of today, we have requests over 100,000 people that are looking for mortgages. And at an average request of 7.5 million per request, if you compute, you have a request of over 70 billion. So this is our problem. And we have, as at today, since this program came into being in 1992, we've collected a total of 107 billion from the scheme. And if you add up the total money we have given out as mortgages and the total amount of money we have also given out as estate development loan, you realize that the total is far, far above what we have contributed, what we have collected as contribution from this scheme.
I want to advocate what has been done in other subsectors, such as the aviation subsector and the agricultural subsector, where government has pronounced policies via central bank and other agencies to set aside certain quantum of funds for the purpose of the sector. You can see that nothing of that nature has happened in the housing subsector. And not until we have such policies in place, the issue of shortage in housing will continue.
If you go to other mortgage banks, they will give you commercial rates of mortgages. Therefore, and this commercial rate is like when you receive 20 million for your house, you may end up through this compound interest thing and the higher percentage of the interest they are charging, you may end up paying another 22 million on interest. So you are buying that house for 42 million. So unless we have the correct mortgage, where it's in a single-digit interest, I don't think that is why people are confused.
The capital base, Federal Mortgage Bank still has very tiny sum in terms of capitalization. So we thank God of recent, the mortgage refinancing company has just been established, but just a few months ago that it was launched. Before it really stands on the ground and they get to become active, gestation period takes quite some time.
Against this background, the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company is expected to synergize with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria to increase the availability of houses.
The funds that will be provided by Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company is going to be market-driven, and we all know the cost of funds today. Most civil servants and Nigerian workers that contribute to our scheme, they cannot afford rates that are obtainable in the market. We are the only institutions as of today that give mortgage at the rate of 6%, and our construction finance is 10%. So the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company is going to be market-driven. They will give mortgages at not less than 12, 13, 14, and in some cases up to 15%. So what we are saying is they will still complement what we are doing. Those who have capacity to take from what the market dictates will be able to take from the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company, while those that don't have capacity will still have to come back to us.
Everyone deserves a home. Showing on the NTA network every Thursday at 6 p.m.
The Cooperative City Gardens Phase 1 and 2 is being developed by El Salem Nigeria Limited and financed by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN. The project started in 2010 and has about 650 affordable housing units made up of 4-bedroom detached buildings, 3-bedroom semi-detached buildings, and 2-bedroom semi-detached buildings.
Initially, they don't think mortgage work here, but we've come to tell them that actually mortgage system functions. I thank Federal Mortgage Bank for what they're doing. I thank them a lot. They are doing a wonderful work to tell every gainfully employed individual that this thing works.
Though the Cooperative City Gardens estate is still under construction, most of the infrastructure is already in place. The estate has been connected to the national grid for the provision of power. There are also overhead and underground tanks for regular water supply.
The infrastructure comprises of the road. I think you've seen the asphalt road there. Though we're still working on some of them. You see the water there. That's an industrial borehole circulated around the whole estate. Of course, you see lights. There is lights here, and the security, they're all in place. We're trying to make sure that all these things are perfectly, done and all that. But as you can see, everything here now is okay.
The housing estate is an example of the kind of partnerships between the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and private real estate developers.
We have every right to sell these houses to politicians, let me use that word, and all that. But to have the interest of the civil servant at heart. Like I told you initially, 90 to 80% of these houses belong to civil servant. And they were able to get it. It's working. So we need an encouragement to achieve the Vision 2020 of the federal government.
The estate is already being occupied by Nigerians who have been able to take advantage of being NHF contributors. Mrs. Amaka Nwimo, whose husband works with the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, is one of such.
The problem of accommodation here in Abuja is not easy. Because of the money we are paying, it's not easy. The challenges we are facing in a rented apartment. Before my husband now got this house through FMB, Federal Mortgage Bank loan, and the developer XLM, I thank them because I'm happy now that I'm staying in my own apartment. I don't have any child. I don't share anything with people. I'm happy that now I'm the landlady of this house.
Mrs. Magdalene Dollar is another resident. She moved in with her family in December 2013.
It's a loan from the Federal Mortgage Bank. So it was quite easy though. It was quite easy getting it, and since then it's been good. It wasn't stressful at all. Just moved in, and so far you can see I'm in my house and it's been nice.
For both families, it is the end of their nightmare with landlords. For this, they are grateful for the collaboration between the FMBN, the NHF and El Salem for making it possible for them to own their own homes. The Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, has signed an Abuja City Center Development Agreement with international businessman Chika Okafor. The project, known as the Abuja Downtown Project, will cost $2.75 billion and will provide secondary infrastructure, which includes a shopping mall, a 5-star hotel, conference centers, office complexes, underground parking lots, and residential towers. The execution of the project will span over a period of 5 years. The Director of Development Control, FCTA, Yahaya Yusuf, said the idea is to come up with structures that will blow the skyline of the city to create a focal point so that Abuja will become a reference point and a choice destination for tourists and investors. The Abuja Geographical Information System, AGIS, is raking into the coffers of the FCT 1.5 billion naira monthly. The Executive Director of AGIS, Mrs. Jamila Tangaza, stated this while speaking with journalists shortly after the commissioning of the new AGIS system in Abuja. She said that the new system is an upgrade and is meant to check fraud in Abuja land administration. While happy with the monthly collection of a little more than 1.5 billion naira, she is, however, hopeful that the monthly revenue accruing to the FCT will hit the 2 billion naira mark before the year runs out.
Everyone deserves a home. Showing on the NTA network every Thursday at 6 p.m.
Mimfa 1 Garden Estate in the Lokogoma area of the Federal Capital City is the outcome of the loan agreement between the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and Platinum Mortgage Bank. Built about 4 years ago, the estate caters to middle and low-income earners, mostly civil servants. Today, the estate is mostly occupied by contributors to the National Housing Fund. Mr. Anselm Okolo is a journalist who owns a house in Mimfa Garden Estate. He says it was a tale of woes before he became a contributor to the National Housing Fund.
You also have to deal with the Shylock landlords. You have to deal with very difficult neighbors and all of that. And then you see there's also the issue of the environment where you live. If you live in a place like Idukarimu, you live in some of these slum areas, you may want to, you may have a good house, but the environment takes away every other advantages that can possibly come with it. So these are some of the things Abuja people experience when you live in a rented apartment. It is, you cannot wish it for your enemy.
Evidently, the joy of Mr. Anselm Okolo is limitless as he counts his blessings.
I feel relaxed, I feel relaxed and comfortable. It's a blessing of God. It's from God's grace. And I will also say, by the grace of those that came up with this idea of private developers coming up with buildings and then providing it to Nigerians through the National Housing Fund program. I am a beneficiary of it, and I can tell you that that's one of the best things that can ever happen to anybody.
Like most Nigerians, Mr. Anselm Okolo initially had reservations about the National Housing Fund.
When we came and then we were told that these houses will be delivered in a year, we took it as one of those long stories that would never have an end. But by the grace of God, it did have an end. We were allocated units. We were like, well, let's wait and see. We're there. It will not be one of those 419 things. But lo and behold, we moved in, did very minimal renovation, very minimal, and moved in, and that's it.
Drawing from his experience, Mr. Anselm Okolo advises Nigerians not to hesitate in taking advantage of the housing scheme being run by the National Housing Fund.
This is a reality. This is happening. It has happened to me. It's happening to a whole lot of other people. Particularly, I don't want to talk about others, but I know about, if you do it through Platinum Savings and Loan Scheme, they have delivered and they will continue to deliver.
Message from Bulus Victor reads, why can't individual NHF contributors deal directly with Federal Mortgage Bank? I believe that it may make accessibility to loans much easier.
We are designed by policy to provide secondary services. Other institutions like the primary mortgage banks or institutions are designed to provide primary mortgage services. The same person would have asked the same question. So he wants to do a cash transaction. Why can't he go to the central bank directly? Because the central bank plays that role as a regulator, as a banker's bank. So there are banks, the business is designed in that way.
A text message from Emmanuel Abaji reads, I work with a private company in Lokoja, Kogi State. How do I monitor my contribution to know whether my company is remitting my NHF contribution or not?
First of all, you are free to always liaise with our bank, any of the branches where you understand, to confirm whether your contribution is remitted in as much as you are resident of that particular state. So you can check our state office to find out about your contribution, whether your employer has remitted or not. But above all, the work has been made easier now by the bank, because the bank of recent has just launched the e-card for the NHF collection. So automatically, with that card, much as your employer remits your contribution to the bank, you automatically receive alert.
For comments, questions and observations, send text only to 080-9641-1399 or send an email to fmbnfeedback@gmail.com, or you could visit our website at www.fmbn.gov.ng for inquiries.